Hi, I'm Patrick Brannon, Mr. Patrick, from the Highlands Biological Station. Today we're going to be talking about insects.
There are lots of little critters that we call bugs. Things like snails, worms, butterflies, crickets, bees. All of those things we might call a bug, but not all of those things are actually insects. In fact, some of those things aren't even related to insects. Things like snails and worms don't have legs. But other things are closely related to insects, like a spider and a crab and a grasshopper. How many of those are actually insects? Well, they're not all insects. The grasshopper is an insect, but the spider and the crab are other things. But they're related to insects. All of those things are what we call arthropods. Arthropods have hard outer shells, walking legs, but insects have differences in the number of body parts and the number of legs. Insects have 3 body parts and 6 legs. So here's a diagram of a typical insect. They have 3 main body parts. The first part is the head, with the eyes and the antenna. The middle section is called a thorax, not Thor's hammer, Thor's axe, thorax. And this middle section has the legs. It also has the wings if the animal has the wings. And the bottom part is called an abdomen. So head, thorax, and abdomen. 3 body parts. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs.
So let's take a look at a model of a bee. And you can see it has 3 body parts: the head, thorax, and abdomen. It also has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs located on the thorax, as are the wings. What about these things? Would they be legs? No, of course not. They're on the head. Those are the antennae, or feelers, which are usually for the sense of smell. So head, thorax, and abdomen. Insects have 3 body parts and 6 legs. So here's some little plastic bugs, but how many of them are insects? There should be 4. The 4 on the bottom are insects. This is a snail. Of course it's not an insect. It doesn't even have any legs. This is a millipede, or centipede I should say. It has more than 6 legs and more than 3 body parts. So it's an arthropod because it has walking legs, but it is not an insect. Neither is a spider. Spiders have 8 legs and 2 body parts. They're what we call an arachnid, which is a type of arthropod, but not an insect. This is a scorpion. Also more than 6 legs and more than 3 body parts. So it is not an insect. But this is an ant. It has a head, thorax, and abdomen, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 legs. Remember, these aren't legs, they're on the head. So an ant would be an insect. This is a beetle. A beetle would also be an insect. It has that roundish shape and a hard outer shell hiding wings, but it is an insect. If you turn it over, you can see it has a head, a thorax, and then down at the bottom, the abdomen. This is a grasshopper. Again, 6 legs and 3 body parts. Head, thorax, and a long abdomen. And finally, a dragonfly. 6 legs and a head, thorax, and long abdomen.
Another thing about insects is that they go through metamorphosis. We've talked about metamorphosis when we talked about frogs. Remember, the frog transforms from a swimming tadpole into the adult frog. Well, insects also go through metamorphosis. They change their body form. The one most people know is the butterfly. They change from a caterpillar into the adult butterfly. But they have different life stages. So the adult lays eggs. That's the first life stage. The eggs hatch out into larvae. Now for a butterfly, we call this a caterpillar, but the life stage is called a larva. So egg, larva. The larva then transforms into a pupa. Now for a butterfly, we call this a chrysalis or a cocoon, but the life stage is called a pupa. So egg, larva, pupa, and then the pupa hatches out into the adult, which lays eggs. So 4 life stages: egg, larva, pupa, adult. This type of metamorphosis is called complete metamorphosis because the animal completely changes its body form from a caterpillar, like a little worm kind of thing, into the adult. So complete metamorphosis. But it's not just butterflies that do this. All insects go through some sort of metamorphosis. So here's an ant. The adult ant lays eggs. The eggs transform into larvae. The larva turns into a pupa, and the pupa hatches out into the adult. So egg, larva, pupa, adult. Let's look at another one. This is for a mealworm, which is a type of beetle. So the adults lay eggs. The eggs hatch out into a larva. The larva transform into a pupa. Then the pupa changes into the adult. So egg, larva, pupa, adult. So all insects go through some sort of metamorphosis. So as larvae, they don't have 6 legs and 3 body parts, but they do as the adult. But they also have something else as an adult. The larvae, the caterpillar-like things, are soft and squishy, but the adults are hard and crunchy. Do they have bones? They do not. Insects are hard on the outside. They have what's known as an exoskeleton. So how do they grow then? How do they get out of that suit of armor? Well, they molt. Just like a snake sheds its skin, insects molt, shed their outer layer, their exoskeletons. So this is just the shell from a cicada. It's already molted, and it's just the exoskeleton. You can see the hole at the top where it came out, but it's just the empty shell. So for the first few days when it crawls out of its shell, it's very soft and very vulnerable. But it takes a few days and then the outer layer will harden into a new exoskeleton. So all insects go through a form of metamorphosis, but not all of them go through complete metamorphosis. Things like praying mantis and grasshoppers and crickets have what's known as incomplete metamorphosis. They do change, but not very much. When their eggs hatch, they just look like little teeny tiny praying mantises, or little tiny crickets, or little tiny grasshoppers. Dragonflies are the same way. These are called nymphs instead of larvae. And they don't really change the way they look, they just grow larger. They molt repeatedly, and each time they molt, they get closer and closer to the adult stage. So that's called incomplete metamorphosis. insects have eyes, but their eyes are very different from our eyes. We have simple eyes, but insects have compound eyes. What does that word mean, compound? Like a compound word. A compound word is two words put together as one big word. So like butter and fly, put them together, makes butterfly. Or foot and ball, put them together, football. So what would a compound eye be? It's several eyes put together. So their eyes, they have two eyes, but each one is made of lots of little tiny parts, little tiny eyes. You and I see flowers like this, but bees with their compound eyes would see it like this. So what's the point? It's hard to see each individual flower. How would they find the flower? Well, by the color and the smell. But why have eyes like this? Why not just see it the way we do? Watch what happens when I put my fingers in front of the eye. Did you see just one finger or lots of movement? Probably lots and lots of movement. So eyes like this are motion detectors, so that bugs like bees and flies can detect predators.
You can find bugs anywhere. They're in the grass, they're in the leaves, they're under logs, but they're even in the trees. Now, you can't really climb the tree to get to the bugs, but you can bring the bugs to you. What you can do is you can take a sheet or a towel or a big piece of paper, something light colored, and then shake the branches and see what falls out. So let's do that. So there's a little spider that fell out of the tree. There's another something. There's an ant. Sometimes insects can be pests, like if you have termites in your house or a giant yellow jacket's nest under your porch. But insects are also very important for the ecosystem. They pollinate flowers, and they're very important parts of the food chain. So thanks for watching. Please visit us at highlandsbiological.org, and I will see you next time.